Hi, this is Dr. MJ coming to you from beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. This is the Women in Dentistry podcast, where we feature women in dentistry making waves and leading the industry through the next decade. I am your host, Dr. Mary Jane Hanlon, a former dental assistant, dental hygienist, and now dentist. I am very pleased to introduce you today to Dr. Grace Young. Grace is the founder of Mommy Dentists in Business, which was started in 2017 while she was on a business trip with her husband. She noticed how many lawyers connected and networked with one another and felt that dentistry was missing that component of camaraderie. The Facebook group was a way to connect dentists from all over the world, especially dentists like herself, moms that are business owners. Mommy Dentists in Business is the largest social media group of its kind. In addition to managing the community, Dr. Grace hosts her own podcast, Mommy Dentists in Business. It has been in the iTunes Top 100, was ranked number 3 of 15 of the top dental podcasts by Patterson Dental's Off the Cusp publication, and has been downloaded over 129,000 times. She's a published author and educational speaker covering topics such as dentistry, work-life balance, and business tips for the working mom. She has quietly become nationally recognized in her field. Dr. Grace Young has appeared and was featured on The Today Show on NBC nationally, NBC Chicago as a repeat guest, Parents Magazine, Parenting Magazine, Chicago Parent Magazine, and she has also written many dental trade journals such as Dentistry Today, Ortho Town, and Spears Education. It is now my pleasure to bring you to my interview with Dr. Grace Young. I am so excited, everyone, to introduce you today to Grace Young. Grace is the founder of Women Dentistry in Business, Mommy Dentists in Business. And I'm just so excited to have you here, Grace. It's been a long time since I've really wanted to interview you. And I thank you so much for giving me some time to be on the schedule.
Thank you, MJ. I'm really excited to be here. And for all of your listeners, I'm really honored to be a guest on your podcast and to hopefully help or encourage anyone that needs it along the way, because you just never know when someone needs to hear a message. So I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you so much. So like I do with all my guests, I'd love it if you could share with our listeners exactly what your story is in dentistry and how did you get involved in dentistry in the first place?
So my father's best friend was our family dentist. And I say was because he's no longer practicing, but he is healthy and well. Everyone's doing well. So he encouraged me to go to dental school. His older daughter, who's actually my role model, she's a practicing orthodontist. His son is a practicing periodontist in Florida. We all lived in Chicago, but now we've all spread out. We've all relocated. I am a pediatric dentist, and I did not think ever I was going to be a dentist. I wanted to be in journalism, broadcasting. Like I wanted to be a news anchor.
Wow.
And I went to Northwestern University. I was in the School of Speech, and I graduated with a communication studies major. However, during dental school, I needed a part-time job, and Dr. Sam, his daughter was an associate. She was an orthodontist associate working around town. I became her dental assistant and worked for all the different offices she was working at. And one was in Evanston, where I went to college. And the days that she wasn't there, they asked me to work as a dental assistant in the other areas. It was a pediatric orthodontic office. And quickly they grabbed me, pulled me into the pediatric side because I was in the ortho wing. And so they had 2 wings and they wanted me to work both. So I immediately loved working with children, loved both ortho and pedo. And that's how I got started, really, because I love seeing patients. I'm going to put it out right there. Science is not my forte. I was never good at it. I was never good at biology, chemistry. The only subject that I actually did well in was organic chemistry, which is beyond my, I don't even know why I took to organic chemistry, but that was like the only science class I was good at. And everything else, I was just an average student. And when I went to dental school, I was just an average student, like B student. And my classmates were really good at microbiology, biochemistry. For me, it was over my head because I just took the bare requirements to go to dental school. Like I wasn't a biology major. I was not a chemistry major. I was communications.
Mhm.
And so when I got there, I struggled in the academics. I was in over my head with the academic portion, but stuck to it. And I did very well in the lab with my hands. Like I did very well with my wax ups and my actual, like my amalgams and my fill. Like I loved. Like I was very good at putting denture teeth together. Like I was really good at it, like festooning. And I mean, I loved it. So that was the part where I did well. And then I did really well with patients, like the communications. And so when I got to clinic, my third and fourth year, I finished my requirements um, by end of first semester, fourth year. So I really excelled at the clinical portion, but I want to tell all the students that are listening, if you're not doing so well in the academics, that's okay. You just need to get good grades and you just need to pass your board exams.
Mhm.
You don't have to be a straight A student like you're used to being, or maybe your parents, you grew up with high standards and you were always the honor society and always cum laude and always this, always that. At the end of the day, what matters is how you're serving your patients and can you clinically do the work that is expected of you so you don't get into a lawsuit.
Really good points. And I'd love to add a couple of comments there. One of the things that you said was you were great at organic chemistry. I know the reason why. It's something we share in common. The only class I have ever gotten straight A's in is organic chemistry. And I could never figure out why. But our minds work well when we can repeat something. So organic chemistry is just repeating organic compounds, right? And it's remembering something. So if you are good at being able to memorize a list, we can be really good at organic chemistry. So that's one. Two, eye-hand coordination. That is a huge skill, and one that you can be so brilliant. You could be Einstein, but if you don't have that, you can't be a great dentist. So two really key points to remember: that you do not ever have to be at the top of your class to be a great dentist. At the end of the day, whether you graduate number one or you graduate last in your class, as long as you graduate, they still call you doctor.
Yes, and that's it. And I know that, doctors can be competitive, right? And you didn't get this far because you weren't competitive, right?
Right.
For me, I actually took a gap year. So I finished college, I worked for a consulting firm while working in dentistry. And I realized that dentistry, the real life dentistry was where I loved to be. I loved being in a dental office, and I worked in multiple locations. And so for me, my hands-on experience was I pulled the charts. Back then, I'm
Right.
aging myself. There was no
Right.
digital, there was no computer. I used a typewriter to put in insurance forms to type out the insurance claims. So I poured up models. I took out the garbage. I cleaned the bathroom. I swept the floors. I answered the phone calls. I booked the appointments. I did the insurance. I did the sterilization. I, glued on turbos for the orthodontist. I debanded. So I did every single role in the dental office, poured algae, took impressions, you name it, I did it. So then when I went to dental school and I started interviewing, they asked me, well, what did you do as a dental assistant? And I said, everything. What did I not do as a dental assistant? So I mean, when I got to school, I really felt fortunate to have that hands-on experience because there were a lot of things you didn't learn in dental school that I learned on the job.
Yeah.
And all through dental school, I worked. So even though I was studying as a dental assistant, I worked as a dental student, I worked as a dental assistant. I worked in private faculty for ortho, and I worked outside in private practice on the weekends. And so I want to tell everyone that it's really important that you get hands-on experience,
Mhm.
because that you need to make sure you want to do this. We've had so many, my graduating, I started with 103 in my class and graduated 83.
Wow. So
So many
you lost
people,
20 students.
one of my own roommates, she was
Wow.
my roommate. I got paired randomly. She was an embryologist for NIH.
Wow.
Didn't get into medical school, tried multiple times and thought she would try dental school. After first semester, she dropped out. She's like, I hate lab. I can't do it. She was a straight A student, straight A's anatomy, but you name it, she got straight A's in all the sciences. I was the opposite. I struggled, but we were flip-flopped.
Yeah.
And so she dropped out and said, this isn't for me. And so honestly, for me, I kept going, even though I was discouraged with the academic portion. I kept going because I knew that I love seeing patients and I
Mhm.
love being in the dental office setting. And that's why I kept working through dental school, and the faculty grabbed me and they said, could you come to my private practice on the weekends? I said, sure, I'll be your dental assistant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I knew what I was doing and I had all that experience. I showed up to school on the first day with a jar of human teeth, like 30.
Because you could collect them.
I could collect them. And
Mhm.
and then my dad's best friend, Dr. Sam, had a jar of formaldehyde and all these human centrals,
Wow.
premolars, wisdom teeth and I had everything. And I didn't know how to bring it to school. So I brought the whole jar. And so I said, here. And so my teachers were like, whoa, this is great. And so then all of a sudden everyone wanted to be my best friend because I had all these teeth. And then they put them in little, sterile packs and sterilized all the teeth. And we used them eventually, to do endo and all of that. So I honestly, that was the start of my dental career, and I enjoyed it so much. I went to Maryland. I loved it. Like, I loved the faculty. I'm still in touch with faculty, like
That's great.
emails, Christmas cards. Um, I still visit with them, and I have to say that where you go to school matters and
Mhm.
your experience matters. So make sure you find the right location, wherever it may be, where they're going to encourage you and nurture you as a professional, because it's not just going to school and making the grade and passing and then going, it's the networking and the relationships that you have afterwards too.
And
So
those connections help you to connect to possible jobs, whatever the case may be,
yes.
after the fact.
Yes, it's so important never to burn bridges and always to keep in touch, because the doctors who are, it's not like they make a lot of money teaching you.
No.
They're not there for money. They're there to help you, really to learn. And students need to understand that, and students need to appreciate and respect what they're being taught, because that's like gold. To have someone mentor you and teach you and take the time out of their day to really invest in your education so that you could be the best dentist after school. For me, that's worth its weight in gold.
It's critical, totally critical. And that experience of being in the clinic with somebody that understands what you are trying to do and showing you how to do it efficiently and effectively saves so much trauma, because we both know what it's like to try something for the first time, have our heart racing out of our chest and not really sure you know what you're doing. But when a faculty member takes that time to sit with you and really show you or walk through the process with you, you have a better understanding. You're going to be able to do it much more efficiently and effectively than you could without that guidance.
Right. And to your point, you learn so many
Mhm.
tricks, right?
Yeah.
And of course, in dental school, they're going to teach you the standard so that no matter where you go, if you have the standard, you'll be fine. But then there are bells and whistles that you won't see. Maybe schools won't pay for it because of overhead, like
Mhm.
certain burrs or certain tools that a mentor will share with you, so that when you get out, you can experiment with those tools and equipment, like electrical handpieces or whatever. There are obviously other bells and whistles out there that you can use to enhance the practice, your practice. I find that when students graduate and look for a position, whether they're doing a GP or not, it's really important to ask in your interview, are you willing to mentor me?
Absolutely, positively. So that leads me to my next question. So bring us along in what did you do after graduation? Because you have done quite a few things that, you know, and how did you transition, or how did Mommy Dentist and Business grow and get started? Like what,
Sure.
tell us that process.
So after school, I did pedo residency. So I did that for 2 years and then worked as an associate for about 4 or 5 years, which I tell people all the time, experience matters. I know that there are some students who are brave enough to jump right into ownership, or if something was handed to them, or they're taking over maybe their parents or whatnot. It's every situation is different. But I really, really highly recommend working at many different practices and styles, because you can then choose and learn, I like this, I don't like this. I like this, I don't like this. And then when you're ready, or if you want to have your own practice, you bring all that together, right? And you need to learn leadership skills. For me, I learned leadership skills through my mentors and through the doctors that I worked for. And that was really, really important. And of course, when you're an associate and then when you become an owner, there's a flip side. You won't ever know what it's like to be an owner until you are the owner. And as an associate, you may complain about certain things, but you won't know that it's not worth complaining about because you're not the owner, right? It's all about perspective. So for me, fast forward, I owned, I decided right away that I wanted to start my own fee-for-service practices. So that was fee-for-service was one kind of journey that I had to get to myself, rather than being in network with insurance. And that's like a whole nother podcast.
Oh, sure.
Starting new construction space, from renting a space to buying a space and location, that's like another podcast right there. So I've decided to do 2 of those. And I had 7 doctors work for me, 20 employees that were front office to hygienist. And I did it all by myself. And in the middle of all of that, started a family and had 2 kids. And then fast forward 4 years ago, while doing all that, started this Facebook group called Mommy Dentist and Business. People ask me, what is your why? Why did you start Mommy Dentist and Business? I started it for fun. I kid you not. And I said I needed a space where I can identify with other women. And MJ, you know, like you said, that there are women that are willing to help and mentor you, but then there are people that are cut through and just won't even help, right?
Support.
And that's okay. Support, right? So, and that's okay. But for me, I was at a point in my career where I really didn't need mentorship, and in a way that one would think. I was done with the dental clinical mentorship. Like I received that. I received the mentorship for how to run a practice and how to run a business. Had that. There was nothing there as a mentor for me on the mom side.
Yeah.
There was nobody there. I mean, all women in dentistry would help me how to run a practice, how to find an associateship, how to do things, you know, oh my God, you're trying to extract A and J and there's dilacerated roots and pedo teeth, like blah, 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 you know, or, oh, there's crowding. Here's how you use an expander. But there was no mentor for me on how to be a mother to my kids.
And balance it all.
And then balance it all. How to do it with, you know, we're already guilt-ridden that we don't make it to the Christmas play. We don't go to all the field trips. The stay-at-home moms are looking at us like, you do nothing, you know, except buy the cookies and bring it to school. And I've learned to be friends with certain stay-at-home moms that, because my email box is like so full. And when do you have time to check email?
Yeah.
You're with patients all day. You barely have time to go to the bathroom. You barely have time to eat lunch. When are you going to do email? And you miss all the school emails because there's so many that they send you, but you can't decipher which ones are the important ones, right? So then you need to text your stay-at-home mom friend and be like, Liz, where do I need to be at what time? And what am I supposed to be doing? You know,
and what do I have to bring?
What do I have to bring? You know,
like, give me all the details in a nutshell. That's all I need to know. I don't need the extraneous. Right?
Yeah. I was like, Spirit Week, just give me the highlights, Monday through Friday. What do we need for Spirit Week? How many times did my kids be like, hey, today I was supposed to go to school in pajamas and you didn't put me in pajamas. And I'm the only one who didn't wear pajamas.
Oh, I remember those
Spirit Week.
days. I know. I remember those days so well. How old are your children, Grace?
So my kids are now 9 and 7, so second and third grade. And
So you still have a long ways to go.
So I have a long way to go, but I was that mom where I messed up the Christmas play. I didn't know that she was supposed to be in a white dress. She went in her uniform. She was the only one that stuck out. That was the death of me. And it was like, everyone's looking at me, not my husband.
Of course not, because
You
moms
know?
have to take care of everything, right?
Right. And so I'm like, well, so the impetus for Mommy Dentist in Business was, hey, we need to laugh at ourselves. We have to
Yeah.
stop. We have to stop like beating ourselves up for not being there or being present or half present. So that was like, hey, I'm going to invite all my 50 friends that I went to dental school with or my referrals, and let's just drink wine together and laugh. And so that was it, because there are the days where you're like, guess what? I had, 50 patients scheduled today and my compressor broke. Then I had to reschedule all 50. Like,
And they're all coming in tomorrow. So
right.
I don't know what I'm going to do with the 50 patients who are scheduled for tomorrow and how we're going to manage it all. I hear you. And how about the days, I don't know if you've done this yet, maybe you haven't, which, I guilt against charge. Days I would leave my daughter at school and I'd forget to pick her up. Oh my gosh, it's like she'd call on the phone and she'd say, will somebody please come and get me at school? Because she knew that I had forgotten her. And of course, that's a huge guilt for any mom. And it's not that you forget them, but you just get so ingrained in depth into what you're doing and focus that you just lose track of time.
You lose track of time.
Yeah.
Lose track of time. And so I have done that. I've gotten that phone call. Your kid's still here.
I'm not the only.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to send my dental assistant to go pick him up. So like my front desk is driving to the school because I can't leave. I got to see the patient.
Exactly.
So yeah, I have done that. And I think we all have done that. And for those of you who haven't done them, and I really kudos to you because you're really organized.
Exactly.
But I tell my friends, as dentists, as business owners, when we're at work, we have to be so precise. Like our work demands precision and perfection that outside of work, it's hard to be perfect.
Yeah.
There's no brain capacity for me to be perfect in both career and home life. So with home life, I have sent my husband on Saturday when I used to work Saturdays. So I would send my husband, hey, you need to take Zoe to Lucy's birthday party. And here's the time and location. I get a text message. Well, guess what? Lucy's birthday party was at 10 in the morning and you said 3 p.m.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, you know what? So what? Right?
Yeah. So they had, sorry, my bad. I am so sorry. So calendaring mistakes, things like that. It happens because you just don't have the capacity. And so, for me, I have figured out that I need a personal assistant. So I've had to hire multiple nannies, personal assistants, just to stay on top of things and stay organized. And so the Facebook group is a safe space where there's, moms in dentistry. You have to be a mom and you have to be a dentist because mothers have some challenges that other non-mothers don't have the same. It's not the same challenges. Right. You have challenges, but they're equal in challenge weight. I'm not saying that. They're just different. And so we're all there to kind of weather the storm together.
Which is unbelievable. So in the past 4 years, you have grown this from just a couple of people that you started your page with to an enormous amount. I don't even know how many people are members of your group, but it has certainly, you've touched upon something that is so critically important for this section of our population, because it was missing the camaraderie, the ability to laugh at ourselves, the ability to just give ourselves a break for the nuances that we have to adapt to with our profession. So you've grown this quite a bit, and you are doing even more now with continuing education and, meetings with each other. So tell us a little bit about how that has all transpired.
Sure. So again, started it 4 years ago for fun, and it started to evolve, and it just became this snowball effect. And we are 9,000 members,
Oh, that's amazing.
which
Good
is
for you.
amazing. And it's a small fraction of the total population,
Sure.
but it's still a sizable number, which, I didn't never had intentions for.
Mhm.
And the group would say, we should be earning CE with the amount of information we're teaching ourselves to each other clinically and non-clinically. So I looked into it with the AGD, got accredited, and we host webinars now. And anything that the doctors are seeking to learn, whether it's new technique, new technology that they did not learn in dental school, for example, cone beam technology,
Right.
so things of that nature, then I source an expert and we put that program on. So it's really geared towards the members of the group and what they want to learn. It's not about what I'm trying to learn. It's about what the masses are trying to learn as a total. And what's great is it's on demand and it's convenient, because as moms, how many times have we, after work at 6 p.m., I'm driving to the Chicago Dental Society North Branch meeting at 7 p.m. for dinner, and 6:30 my nanny calls me, Zoe has a 103 temperature, she's throwing up all over the place, she's crying for you. I gotta go home. Like when the kids are sick, they don't call for daddy, they call for mommy.
Yeah, they do. They
And
do.
so
Always have, always will.
always will. And when they're 2 years old, what do? You gotta go home.
Yeah.
So you gotta turn the car wheel around and you gotta go home. And then I just lost that evening opportunity to earn CE that I was counting on for my license renewal.
Yeah.
So I figured that the on-demand webinars are great for moms. And then our live webinars, we broadcast in the evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, after you've come home, done dinner, homework with the kids, etc. So we try to make it convenient. The AGD has been incredibly generous with us and understanding, and especially during the pandemic. So our podcast, you can earn CE for whatever qualifies with the AGD. So we've been able to do that, and that's really taken off. The live events are for doctors to come together because they want to see who they've been
Communicating with.
right, socially, right? And
Mhm.
so our events are social in nature, and it's so nice to see the energy, because they've already created a bond and relationship online, and now they're meeting face to face, and that's created a really great infrastructure for having events, and the popularity of the events. And they're all sizes from 10, 30, 100, 300. So we're putting on the events. For me, I actually decided to sell my practices last year. So I sold after being in dentistry for over 25 years, starting at 18. I decided, you know what, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to focus on the mommy dentist business for the next couple of years. I'll probably go back to work, but I just was like, I'm going to see
What
how
you can do.
what we can do with this.
Yeah.
And so that's where I am right now. That's what we're doing. And the group is really loving it. For me, it's rewarding because, of course, as a dentist, I earned a lot more money than I am running a
Yeah.
Facebook group.
Mhm.
But what keeps me going is when I go to these meetings and events, doctors who have never met say, "You've changed my life."
Mhm.
And it's all worth it because they no longer feel alone. They can ask a question without feeling like they're going to be ridiculed, or they understand who they're talking to peers. Because sometimes in other Facebook groups, we might ask a question. Oh, you know what? I just had a baby. I've been gone for 8 weeks. My maternity leave is coming to an end. How are you working your schedule and with like nursing? And then some guy answers, and you're like, how would you understand? You don't even know,
No. Mhm.
or they'll be like, well, my wife takes care of that. And I'm like, why are you even chiming in on this conversation if you have nothing to add to it? So as moms, we feel that this is like our safe space. We can ask each other questions such as those. And what's been nice is also that owners can find associates, and that's been nice too.
You make the connection. So you've made an impact. And I think that in our lives, that's a humongous service to people. And one that you should be so proud of, because you've made an impact on groups of human beings, numbers of human beings. And that, I think, is something that is a legacy building for anyone. So, congratulations. I'm really impressed with you. I'm really impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I feel like it's my calling. It's it's my feel good. It's my way of giving back and to this wonderful career that has given me so much.
I know.
And all the doctors that poured into me, I feel like I have so much to pour into others because of everything I have received. And that's the beauty of this whole thing, is that this is a thank you to all the people before me, and I can pass it down. And then those who are taking it, they can then pass it down. So it's perfect. And I think I remember one of my first classes at Maryland, they talked about philanthropy, and they talked about the importance of giving back to the community, whether it's through dentistry or your peer group. And that always stuck with me. And so I think it's important. I think it's something that I'm not going to say you have to do it, but yeah, you should think about doing it in some way, whatever form.
And whatever suits you the best.
Yes.
Right. So let's switch gears a little bit. As I explained to you earlier, one of the reasons for this podcast is to inspire the next generation of women with stories that will help support them. So let's start by sharing, what is the one piece of advice that you've received in your career that you think was the best piece of advice you've ever got?
The best piece of advice professionally that I have received is practice near your home.
Yeah.
And I say that because I was obviously back then single, not married, and getting this information from a dentist she was seasoned, and said, Grace, in the future, you want to practice near your home when you start a family, because if you are the primary caregiver of your child or children, you need to be close by.
Yeah.
And also your responsibilities will grow. And so your life will be much better if you can work near your house. And I always took that and tucked it away. And as a single person working as an associate, I did do the 1 hour commutes there and back and spent 2 hours in the car in a working day.
It's too much.
It's too much. It was too much as a single person. And so it's like all that time you're wasting in the car. And I really took that to heart. So that is the best piece of advice I've received professionally. Very good.
How about inspiration? Who in your career has been the biggest inspiration for you? And it could be personal. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in dentistry, but who do you think inspired you the most to become the woman you are today?
So for inspo they call it, social media kids, I've had many. And for me, it's other women in other industries that have inspired me. So when I was starting out, I took cooking lessons from this woman. Her name was Dietitian Dawn. And Dietitian Dawn was, like, in my mind, like, brilliant. She was on TV. She had this awesome website where, and she had written recipe cookbooks, and she was young like me, she wasn't that much older than me. And she inspired me. I was like, wow, look at her. She's so amazing. I want to emulate her. Like, I want to be the dietitian Dawn in dentistry.
There you go. There
You
you
know,
go.
So that was one inspirational person. Second inspiration person was this woman. Her name's Ellie Hong, and she in Chicago was the news anchor for NBC. Remember, I wanted to be a news
Yes,
anchor, right?
yes, yes,
So
yes.
she was on the Morning Today show. So I watched her, and she's Korean, just like me, and she's not that much older than me either. And she was on the news every like got ready watching her, and she's just so bubbly and funny and just a great news anchor. She inspired me, and I actually had the opportunity to meet her at an event, and then we became fast friends, and we are
Oh,
friends
that's
to this
awesome.
day. And she brought her kids to me, and so she was an inspiration. She would leave the house at 1 a.m, and she had 2 kids. She had to go to the news station at 1 a.m, but that was hard work. Like, she put in her time, she put in her work to be the news anchor for NBC. Like, that was like amazing. And then the third person that inspires me is a man, Isidore Sharp, and he was the founder, or is the founder of the Four Seasons hotels and resorts. And Isidore Sharp has an autobiography, a book that I've read, and he's the person that I modeled my business after.
Ah, very good.
So,
Based on customer service
yes,
expectations
yes,
and
yes, like the service. Like, I wanted to be the Four Seasons of pediatric dentistry, and I could demand the fee for service model because I was running a Four Seasons practice. And so the patients that I had are the ones that all their vacations are at the Four Seasons. And I met a lot of them while I was an associate. And I would always ask, like, where'd you go on vacation? I went to Wailea in Maui at the Four Seasons. I went to blah, blah, blah at the Four Seasons. I'm like, what's so great about the Four Seasons? What is going on
once
here?
you've been there once, you know exactly
Right.
what's so great about the Four
So
Seasons.
I investigated, and I researched, and there was a point in time I could not afford the Four Seasons, but I grew to get there. But I studied it. I studied Isidore Sharp, and I was like, what are you doing that all these people are spending and throwing their money at your resorts every year? What are you doing? Because those are my patients. Those are my people. And so that's what I did. And I know a lot of people say, well, how do you learn business? And how do you learn how to do business? And I didn't go to business school and I wasn't being taught. Well, find a business that you like, that you want to emulate, and you model your business after that business. So Isidore Sharp has been someone that inspired me and still does. And you think of all the things. So, for example, like for listeners who are listening, when you have kids, right? So you take them to a hotel and you just expect to have a family vacation, right? Zero expectations except that you're going to have a great time. You're going to be by the pool. You go to the Four Seasons with your kids. Guess what?
They can be taken care of.
Well, not only are they taken care of, but you walk into the room, and in the bathroom, they have sponges on the bathtub with their letters named Zoe and Xander, with
Oh,
kids-sized bathrobes and kids-sized slippers, and a separate shower pack of shampoo, conditioner, and gel for children. Where are you going to get that? And then on the beds, they leave a little card that says, welcome Zoe, welcome Xander, with a little stuffed animal, like a whale or whatever, with the Four Seasons stitching brand on it, and then a plate of cookies welcoming you. So you are paying money, but the perceived value is that you're getting all the bells and whistles that come with the money that you're spending, but that makes you feel good, and it makes your child feel good. And what do I do as a pediatrician? How does that translate? How does that translate? That translates into my front desk memorizes all the names, all the new patients that are coming in. April at the front desk will be like, you must be Maddie. Welcome. You're a new patient. We're so excited you're here. Here's the paperwork. Here's whatever. But it's like, we're going to take a picture of you. We're going to print it out. And my practice was a travel theme. So we had passports and we put the picture you take with the doctor. So whatever doctor you're working with, you take a picture with your patient print it out, put in the passport, and you say, this, welcome, this is for you. Here's your goodie bag. You get extra things in the goodie bag. And it's about rolling out the red carpet so that the patients are wowed. Well, I
Yes.
don't get this at my other dental office, or I never got this service. So it's creating value, perceived value, because sometimes they'll leave because their husbands or whoever says we need to go in network. The next year they're back and they say,
Exactly.
we're
We
coming
won't
back.
leave again.
We're not going to leave again because they don't even know my name and they won't give me this, they won't give me that. And I made sure we ran on time. We were not going to let you wait more than 5 minutes. And if you did, you get a Starbucks card. And we apologized, So it's recognizing anything that's a mistake and apologizing and owning up to it. And then also being like, we know that your time is valuable. We're sorry that we're making you wait.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do as a dentist and as a service provider to elevate your brand and make the patients want to stay and see you.
And that also leads to word of mouth communication between parents. And, whether it's a parent or a mom coming in for the first time, I was a general dentist for 25 years in private practice. And it didn't matter if the mom came in and was happy and was completely, in love with the practice, she would bring her whole family. Now,
Right.
Occasionally the dads wouldn't come because if they worked in downtown Boston, they'd stay in Boston, and the family, which was local in Lexington where I practice, they would all come in to the practice locally. But it was all about making that impact and showing that value to the mom, to the decision maker. And once that happened, it was game over. They were yours for life, which,
Yes.
it's not a hard thing to learn.
It's not a hard thing to learn,
Mhm.
but your team has to be
Trained.
on that page with you and
Mhm.
trained, right?
Yeah.
So I would take my team aside and I would take them to the Peninsula Hotel,
right.
the Four Seasons Hotel, and just say, this is how they serve you. Our patients come here. You got to watch, right? Or I would tell them, where do you go for haircuts and why do you go?
Mhm.
And then why do you keep going? And oftentimes I'm like, well, that's why our patients keep coming. It's that same feeling. Like, you keep going to the same haircut place because you like X, Y, and Z. Well, we have to do the same thing for our patients so that they keep coming back and not go anywhere else.
Mhm.
So, the team, it's very much a team approach, because if you look at the Four Seasons, Isidore Sharp isn't there making the beds or working the
No.
concierge,
But he's
right?
leading the strategy.
But he's leading the strategy and everyone has to do it and perform
That's correct.
together.
That's correct. That's correct. Really good. Do you have a personal motto or mantra that you live by?
I do. I try very hard. I'm not as the treat others the way you want to be treated, which
Yeah,
is, the golden rule, right?
sure.
So if you treat other people with respect or the way you want to be treated, they will treat you the same way.
Excellent. Excellent. How about a guilty pleasure or secret dream?
A secret dream is for me to go to the Seychelles.
Very good.
Yes.
What is the interest and the draw to the Seychelles?
I've always wanted to go to Africa, but I just never got the opportunity so far. And so I hope one day I can go to Africa or go on safari or go to the Seychelles. Like, it just seems like the one place in the world that I haven't been. Like, I love travel, and that's why I made my office a travel theme. And in my offices, like, everything was about travel. Like, there's globes and maps and everywhere. And so I feel that traveling is a form of education,
It is. Yeah.
and it's a way. Education starts at home.
Mhm.
So wherever you can take your child, and it doesn't have to be out of the country. I mean, it's just the drive to the state park or something, like, it's about travel. It's a form of education. And for me, I felt that my patients, they came from all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, all different economic demographic. And I had always laid out books about travel at the front, and I changed them every 6 months. Your toys in your books in the front lobby, you cannot have raggedy looking things in the front.
Mhm.
You have to keep it fresh and clean. And they always said on my reviews, the office is clean, the office is modern, the office is always well presented, it smells good. All of those things. You don't go to the Four Seasons and it's ratty tatty or it smells bad, you know. So it's got to present well. And so I always had books on travel, changed it out every 6 months. So the kids always had something new to read, new to learn. You know, we did have TVs, but we didn't have them everywhere. My hygiene bay, I did not put a TV. And the kids and the parents say, how come there's no TV here? I'm like, you're old enough to be in this room without one. You
That's
can read
right.
a book. And in the other ones, it's for the young ones who, you know, don't have the attention span. So we always had those books out. So, you know, I digress, but I just think that for me, I have not traveled to Africa and Seychelles. So that's where I want to go.
Excellent. So just to finish up, any words of wisdom that you want to share with the next generation of women coming up in dentistry that you think would really help them?
Yes, I think that the next generation needs to be fearless and go for it. Don't acquiesce. If you're getting a job and they offer you X dollars,
Make sure you
Don't-
negotiate.
be sure to negotiate, you know, competitively find out, like educate yourself,
Right.
competitively find out what the going rate is in your area and don't take less than your male colleagues. So the work you do, an hour is an hour. Your male colleague will do a crown in an hour and you will do the same crown in an hour. Why should you get less? A crown is a crown, an hour is an hour.
Mhm.
So
But typically we leave on the table close to 25%. 25%. And it's, if you think about that throughout the course of your entire career, that's a lot of money that we've left on the table. And we have got to stand up. I can't think of a better way to end this podcast, and I can't thank you enough, because I think that is a huge key to success, always to think from whether or not you're male or female, from the perspective of what is my time worth and is it equitable to everyone else?
right. And it should be. And why
Yeah,
why take any less? You know, your hour's an hour, you know, and whatever you feel, you know, is deserving. And obviously don't go so far that it's outrageous,
Right.
then nobody will take you seriously. But if you do the homework and you investigate, you know, you really should be asking for the top dollar. So that is it. That is my
Awesome.
words of wisdom.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Grace. I can't thank you enough for the time and the wisdom that you've shared. I really do.
It's my pleasure. And thank you. And I think, MJ, you are incredible and your listeners are so lucky to have you. So thank
Well,
you for everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the Women in Dentistry podcast with Dr. MJ Hanlon. If you like our show and want to know more about us, check out our website, thewomenindentistry.com, or please leave us a review on iTunes. Join us for our next episode as we bring you another amazing woman leading the way for the next generation.